Hey guys, this is Nathan Madsen, also known as NS Madsen on the GameDev.net forums. It's been requested that I do a behind-the-scenes look at how I created the Mechlab theme for MechWarrior Tactical Command, which is out on the App Store right now. Okay, so a few things. First off, I'm getting over a cold, and I've also been doing a ton of swimming, and my cell phone is ringing. Well, I'll have to get back to him later. You guys are more important. So, okay, so I've been doing a lot of swimming, so if I mumble a little bit, it's because I am having a hard time hearing myself. Another housekeeping thing is you'll see these 4 tracks up here that are muted. These were the 4 tracks that were using Dimension. It's an awesome Cakewalk plugin that I really enjoyed using. Unfortunately, when I upgrade my OS, even slightly before I upgrade to 10.7 and higher, I was having major RAM issues. Now I have 32 gigs of RAM on this machine, so normally I don't have any issue with almost any VST, or if you want to be specific in PC, AU, audio unit. I've had no problems with about 99% of the plugins I use. I started hitting serious RAM limits with Dimension, even sometimes having only 1 Dimension patch loaded. So, all that to say, I contacted Cakewalk, and they got back to me and said that, hey, left a voicemail. It got back to me and said, hey, it doesn't work with 10.7. Apparently an API library was removed from 10.7, which limits Dimension's ability to function. So, unfortunately, you will not get these 4 tracks at all. So what I'm going to show you today is a little bit different from what the master mix is going to be. All right, so I use Logic. This is Logic. And I used Reason as a rewire synth to get some of those sounds. And those sounds in Reason were the foundation of the track. Bass, some drum elements, and some harmony. So let's start there. Boom shakalaka. Here we go, Reason. I love Reason. So bass track, a little bit of a counter melody track, 2 Rex drum loop tracks going the entire time. No automation there. They're omnipresent. And then Ageless, a pad. So right here you have chunk A, and then right here you have chunk B. Let's listen. All right, so you get the idea. Pretty simple. One thing you'll notice if you're listening closely, the bass isn't 100% in the pocket every time. It's my belief, even with electronic music, which is usually very tight, syncopated, quantized music that's just 100% precise. I feel it's totally appropriate to have, particularly with instruments are usually played by a human, i.e. a bass, to have it be a little bit out of the pocket sometimes. Don't make it 100% correct. That's part of what sometimes can really make music feel artificial. Over here, I'll let you can pause the video and take a look at how these are panned, center, left, or right, and then as far as the volumes settings of each of these. So that's the foundation of the track. Let's go back to Logic. Okay, get off the mixer here. Next 2 elements I'm going to add in is a Godzilla. This is a storm drum, big boom sound, and then a drum track right here that I just pulled from Logic's library. Let's listen to that by itself without the EQ. You'll notice the EQ right here, I took a lot of this stuff out towards the top end of this sound. So let's bypass that and listen. Now let's put that EQ back in. So what I was after was something that just heightened the activity a little bit. I didn't want it to be super in your face. And you'll notice this track is brought down -16. And it's still pretty omnipresent, especially, or in your face, especially when you bypass the EQ. Okay, now let's add in the boom. Okay, for the sake of time, so it's not a super duper long video, let's move on. Let's add in this element. This is another logic instrument that I wanted to reinforce some of the harmonies. This is not necessarily a melodic track, but it's just arpeggiating the harmonic changes, the chords. But you notice it's basically limited to 2 notes per harmonic change. I didn't want it to be super active because I also had the Santur, which is a raw instrument. And by the way, this is an old session. I should have specified that at the beginning of the video. In this session, I was still running Contact 5, or sorry, excuse me, Contact 4, which I'm now running 5. And so things were a little bit different. But this is a Santur, one of the raw instruments from East West. And yes, I don't have a play license of raw yet. I might get one. So this is doing a little more of the arpeggio. So listen to how these 2 elements together work. In fact, let's just listen to those 2 by themselves. Let's add in the reason again. And the storm drum and the drum loop. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, let's add in this element. This is also a sculpture, another Logic native bundled instrument from Logic. And so now we're going to have these 2 ideas fully supported by this idea as well. What I really like about that is the shh that's going on, the phasing that's going on with that patch, and how it evolves throughout the sound. Pretty cool. All right, let's get to my favorite part of the entire track. And again, I apologize. I mean, well, it's not really my fault, but I really wish I could show you these tracks in real time, but with the plugin being broken as it is, until Cakewalk fixes it, I'm pretty much stuck. I did just order Omnisphere, though, so I might be fine to replace those sounds. Okay, staccato strings. This is from East West as well. Let's take off the plugins on this, the effects, and just listen to it dry. Pretty simple. Pretty predictable. Now let's add in the delay and the fuzz as well. I really like how it changed the flavor, the identity of the strings here. You'll notice also the delay. It happens right before the next measure. Ba-da, da-da, ba-da, da-da, ba-da-da-da. I like how it's almost a pickup. It's hard to hear in the full mix, but I do believe it's a subconscious thing that happens. Let's listen to the whole thing without the plugins here on the staccato strings. And now with, because I think it sounds much more characteristic, unique with that on the strings. The only thing we didn't cover, the strings here, just legato strings, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna let this loop and just pull up what I've done as far as the mixing. You'll notice I didn't do a ton of panning here. Did some. Did more with the reason part. And then there's the settings for the volumes and any EQ changes I made. So again, I really wish that you were hearing the Bit Crusher had an awesome warble, deep, evolving sound, but that came about with really taking out a lot of the highs. And then this is the second chunk, the B chunk as I like to call it. It's the real high. Bing, bing. I can't sing that high, but it's the real high synthy stuff. The disclose was not actually used in this track. The guitar-ish was something that was another arpeggio that really hinted at a melody. This song didn't have too much of a really strong melody on purpose because it's about 1 minute and 4 seconds, I believe. Yeah. So it's made to be just looped and played during customizing your mech or in the marketplace, other menu screens. So it's not meant to draw a ton of attention to itself, but mainly to create a mood. Last little point I wanted to show you, notice disclose was not used, as I've already said. Drums was not used. Low strings wasn't, nor was harmony, and nor was, well, this is actually just an external MIDI track, so don't worry about that. The reason why I have some blank tracks in here is because this is the second track that I wrote for MechWarrior Tactical Command. The first track, the title track, main theme, used these instruments and a few others. And what I've found to be very useful as far as cutting down time and also ensuring continuity between tracks is to have a session start out, your title theme, your first theme, whatever it is. And then when you move on to your next theme, do a save as and save it as that new theme, and then tweak the track. Sometimes you'll take away tracks. Sometimes you will delete tracks, bring in new stuff. Sometimes you'll tweak existing ones or just completely reuse other ones. I'm not talking about MIDI data. I'm just talking about the settings, the sounds, the mixing. Again, it's a case-by-case situation, but that can save you from having to rebuild each session. For example, MechWarrior had, if I remember correctly, I think 30 cues. And so to keep continuity, I did this quite a bit. Of course, not with every track, but as it made sense from the narrative and from the setting stance, I decided to create basic harmonic and sonic identities or characters, and then stay with them until their time was done and to bring in a new one. So that's why you'll see here some unused tracks. And most of the time with my machine, most of the time, knock on wood, most of the time it's not an issue with RAM. I have had a few problems here and there as my machine gets older, but Well, that's pretty much it. Again, I really had wished to find a solution with Cakewalk to be able to show you dimension, but right now that's not possible. And I wish you all a wonderful Monday night or whatever time it is when you're watching this. And thanks so much. Take care. Bye.